Hi, and welcome to the Modern Persian Food Podcast. We are food bloggers,
Bita Arabian,
and Bita Nazim Kelly, and we're here to share with you the rich flavors and fresh ingredients of Persian cooking and how to incorporate them into today's modern lifestyles.
We're excited to introduce you to the flavors, tastes, and techniques we use, and also our own cultural stories and perspectives growing up in the U.S. in a Persian family. Thank you for joining us. Today, in episode number 49, we're talking about Persian bread, also known as noon and naan. Persian breads are a big part of Persian food culture, and I'm here today with the lovely Bita June. Hi, Bita June.
Hi there. How are you, Bita June?
I'm doing well. I'm really looking forward to talking about Persian breads, flatbreads, how we use them, which are our favorites, the traditional ways and the modern ways. So let's just get right started.
Yeah, sounds good. What's your favorite type of bread?
You know, it's a hard choice for me between Lavash and barbari. Lavash is, as you know, it's a little thinner and it's the type that's used in bread tahdig often. And it's made in like the huge sheets. Sometimes it has the little sesame seeds. And barbari is the thicker, fluffier Persian flatbread. That is really delicious too. I like barbari with breakfast, I think, because I can put butter and jam, or if I'm in a savory mood, I can have it with like herbs and cheese and walnut. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a thicker, yummy bread. Of course, you can do that with lavash as well, but lavash I kind of use more for dipping. I can toast it. Sometimes I'll toast it in the air fryer and dip it in all the yummy yogurt dips like mast musir and mast khiar. What about you? What's your favorite kind of bread?
Yeah, those are all really delicious. I love how with barbari you can really kind of sink your teeth into it and get like a really delicious, hearty bite, especially when you have it tucked with like Sabzi Khordan and some feta cheese. Super delicious. I do love lavash as well. The Persian bread that's kind of the most special for me is the noon sangak, which is baked in these big ovens, huge ovens, and it's actually baked on pebbles. So sang is translated to rocks in Farsi. And so what they do is they heat these rocks up super, super hot. And then they put this wheat dough flat onto the rocks itself. And it cooks like that over a few minutes. And what's really special about that is I remember actually being in Iran and going to the noonvai where they're actually making the bread to order right there for you. And it would be really interesting when the sangak bread would come out of the big oven. And sometimes there was like little pebbles still stuck to the bread that they would just kind of like pick off of it. It would be so authentic and it would just feel like so special because you're getting it hot from the oven and you're eating it and it's still warm. So I would say that sangak is probably the most special of the breads in my opinion and the one that I like the most. But yeah, the lavash too, you know, on the bottom of a pot of rice, all crispy and caramelized and golden, that's like hard to pass up. But yeah, those are all super delicious.
Yeah, sangak, it's on my bucket list to one day go back to Iran, go to all the beautiful places, and I want to try sangak that's made in the traditional way. I've had it made in sort of semi-automated ways here, but it's just so delicious. It's crispy, so it's the toastiness that comes from the pebbles, but then still like chewy on the inside. Oh, and the flavor is like no other. It's very unique.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's great. And, you know, all the Persian breads kind of that we were talking about, you mentioned that they usually come in a flat, long shape. Some of them are a little thicker than others and are made sometimes with regular flour versus whole wheat flour, but they generally tend to have more flat shape, sometimes in a long rectangle, sometimes in a more oval shape. And so that's like the customary way. But I love seeing kind of like different takes on it and riffs off of it. I know that at one time in a farmer's market, I saw they had like barbari bread that was like just small, like maybe like 8 to 10 inches each piece of it. And it was like super cute and very, you know, accessible that you can get that and you don't have to have like a really big piece of bread to carry around, but it was super cute.
Yeah, so a lot of the Persian breads come very big, like you're saying, very long, like lavash. And you don't necessarily eat it all at once, and it's special, so you want to keep it. So we often take cooking shears and cut it up into smaller pieces, and then freeze it, and then enjoy it, especially when we've gotten it fresh from a bakery, fresh from a Persian market. It's really fun to go to some of these Persian markets where you can see them going through the semi-automated process. They take the dough and they put it in the rotating oven. It's almost like a pizza oven, the ones that I've seen where they make lavash. And then they kind of hang it sometimes. Then you get it and it's still warm. And they don't cut it or package it. When you pick it up, fresh baked bread, in my experience, it's just like laid out. Sometimes they'll put like a paper in between, but it's hot. Like it literally almost burns your arms and you just have to be eating it, even in the car. So delicious.
And it smells so good.
Yeah, and if you don't have the luxury of having it nearby you, there are some similar breads to Persian bread that you can absolutely substitute in. So, for example, what would you use if you didn't have a Persian bread and you wanted to make a tahdig or enjoy some, a little loghmeh, which is a word for bite of, cheese and herbs and walnut, make somebody a special little loghmeh. What would you use?
A lot of the markets, like even like local grocery stores or like Trader Joe's and things like that have a lot of like lavash bread and kind of some other like versions that you can use. Tortillas are a great substitution. Actually, yes, for the bottom of the pot of rice, I end up using a tortilla a lot of the time too. And also, if you want to be like a little like creative in your tahdig technique, you can actually like cut shapes into the tahdig. Someone that we follow, Vartamel, she does like really great scapes in her tahdig. So tortillas are a great alternative to use instead of lavash for the bottom of the pot.
I mean, that's really advanced to do shapes. I just do my best not to burn it and make sure that it crisps, but it doesn't burn. Tortilla is so wonderful because it's already shaped in a round shape, and often you can find one that is the exact size of your pot.
Yeah.
Another one that I sometimes use is pita bread. So pita bread to me works great to make a little sandwich of, Persian goodies with the feta cheese and the mint and parsley or whatever you like in there with your walnuts and cheese.
Yeah.
It also can work as a tahdig. So experiment, because tahdig is a trial and error experience. So experiment with using different kinds of bread. But I have made tahdig with pita bread and it comes out quite lovely. I like it.
Oh, I've never tried that. I'll have to try that. And it'll be a little bit thicker too.
Yeah, you can keep it both sides of the pita, or you can try to slice it and just have it be the thinner one side.
Oh, and use one half.
But, pita's always a little finicky to separate.
Yeah.
But yeah, that works as well.
Yeah, it's a great thing, especially when you're entertaining or things like that. I've had different events where I've wanted to make like that little loghmeh that you're talking about, that perfect little bite. So I'll use like little pitas, actually even little mini pitas sometimes, or just wrap some lavash bread around like a little herb and cheese little wrap, or sometimes with kebab type of little wrap bite thing. And you can have a platter of those. And so it's just very accessible for people to just kind of grab one and not have to commit to like a really big thing or make their own version, but it's like ready to go and great for a little appetizer.
Absolutely. Another thing that's pretty cool is that most of these breads come in white and whole wheat. I know I've seen lavash in white and whole wheat. Barbari I've had in whole wheat. Actually just picked some up the other day. It's also very good. And sangak is a wheat dough. So less white carbs, the better.
It's nice to have a choice if you want to have the white or the wheat. Yeah.
There's like a sweet Persian bread that's quite delicious, that's made with milk instead of water in the dough, called shirmal. It's round and it's thicker, and it sometimes has a little flavor of rosewater and cardamom and saffron even. Do you like shirmal?
I honestly haven't had much of it, but it sounds so delicious for like breakfast or just like as a sweet little like afternoon treat to have with chai.
Yeah.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. Other cultures have it as well. And you see it in the Persian market. It's like a little bit stickier and to me, breakfasty. It's almost like a special treat or a pastry.
Yep.
I like it. It's really nice.
In our recent episode with Tana Susuni, we talked about kind of some of our own regional foods where our families are from. And I talked about Kermanshah. And there is one that's called nonogandi. And nonogandi is kind of like a cookie. It's basically like made with a lot of sugar, and it's made in like a round, flat disc that's probably almost like an inch thick. Very delicate, and you eat it kind of with tea, or you could have like a few pieces of it for breakfast, but it's like a hearty cookie cracker type of texture of this bread, nonogandi. which is delicious. And then there's another, actually more of like a dessert, but it has the word noon in it, is noon khormai. And noon khormai is basically these little like bites, these beautiful like little cookies, treats that are made with this bread and also with dates inside. Those are really nutritious and super, super delicious. And those are made in Kermanshah as well. So those are two things that have the noon in it.
Oh.
And again, as you mentioned, noon and naan can be used interchangeably. It's kind of like more of like a dialect if you were to say noon versus naan. But what about noon khomeh?
Cream puffs?
Yeah, cream puffs.
A favorite. That was an endearing nickname of our younger daughter.
Okay.
She loved eating cream puffs, and she had like cream puffy, just delicate, latif skin.
Oh, so cute.
So the great grandma in the family called her noon khomeh. She was our cream puff.
Oh, so noon khomeh has like the little dough like puffs up, and then whipped cream with sometimes some cardamom or rose water mixed into it is piped into the little puffs, and so those cream puffs are called noon khomeh too. So on the topic of bread and things that have the word noon and naan in it, we'd be amiss if we missed talking about noon khomeh. Beautiful.
Yes, thank you for clarifying for our non-Farsi speakers. Noon and naan are the same thing, Farsi for bread, just like we have June and John, which means dear. And the funny thing is that word is also sometimes used for cookies, like you said in your regional cookies.
Yeah.
My favorite Persian cookie, which is nana baranji.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Rice flour cookies, a gluten-free cookie. I have a little recipe for those. And I don't know why they call cookies bread, but maybe that's sort of what they call floury things with flour.
Yeah, with floury things, I think when it's flour-based.
Yeah. This was fun. I am hungry for bread things. And
I know. So good. So good.
I'm wondering, do we have an Ask the Beats today, Bita June?
We do have an Ask the Beats. Today's Ask the Beats comes from Sam from San Francisco. And he says, I've seen cuckoo recipes with a ton of eggs and oil. How can it be lightened up? So I think that's a great question because I think some of the recipes actually have a ton of oil and like 8, 10, 12 eggs just for one pan of cuckoo. So I think that's a great question for anyone kind of like just watching what their diet is maybe. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, it's traditionally deep fried.
Yep.
So it's normally greasy to the point that like you almost need to put it on paper towels to soak a little of the grease before serving it. And tons of eggs, which aren't necessarily bad for you. But if you're watching your, cholesterol and you want to lighten it up, I think you make cuckoo a lot more than I do. So please tell us your strategies for lightening up that recipe.
Yeah. Traditionally, I actually don't use a ton of eggs. So if I'm going to make one like 8-inch pan, a stovetop of cuckoo, I'll use just like 4 eggs, 4 like extra large eggs. I don't use a ton of them and I don't feel like it's really like lacking, at least for the purposes how I like to have cuckoo. It doesn't feel like it's like lacking from not enough eggs. I guess if it had more eggs, it would just be like a little bit thicker and fluffier. But I don't use a ton of eggs. The other thing you could do is you don't actually have to use whole eggs. You can use egg whites. But then if I just use regular egg whites, I'd probably up it up to like 6 egg whites versus 4 whole eggs. So that's one way to do it. And then you mentioned like deep frying it. We like pan fry it typically with like a lot of oil so that it doesn't stick. Some ways that you can cut down on that is if you bake it in the oven, you don't need to use as much oil. You should use some. And also if you line the bottom of the sheet pan, that if you're going to make it in the oven with parchment paper, then you don't need as much oil either because then it naturally won't stick to the parchment paper. So that's another way to do it. Have you ever tried making it in the air fryer?
No, I haven't done much of any type of baking in the air fryer, but that sounds interesting. I love your idea to use egg whites. I actually prefer the taste.
Oh, okay.
I think that would be light and delicious. Using muffin tins, that's a really fast and easy way to bake. Using like a nonstick muffin tin, then you don't even have to like slice it up, right? And you're able to bake it. That's usually how I do it, is in a muffin tin.
Yeah, I typically spray the muffin tin or like grease the inside of the muffin tin.
It just depends on how fresh or new your cookware is. But definitely putting a little spray oil is not a bad idea to try to avoid the stick.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It would be a bummer to lose all that precious,
I know,
healthy stuff, which, cuckoo is healthy. So lightening it up, it has all that great herbs and greens in it. So it's a healthy option. So thank you for the question. Please keep your questions coming.
Yeah, we love hearing from you guys, and we love answering your questions on the show. Also, if you have any feedback for us, we always are interested in learning and listening to our listeners and seeing what they like and don't like, and we can modify accordingly.
Right. And as Bita and I have said in the past, we're not chefs or specialists on every topic. If you're interested in being a special guest, you can also reach out to us as well. We love learning and having new people on our show. So thank you, Bita June. It's been delicious talking about Persian bread.
Yeah, sounds great. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Until next time.
You've been listening to the Modern Persian Food Podcast with Bita and Beata. Thanks for spending time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling a friend or giving us a good rating. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com or on Instagram for the recipes and information we talked about today. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.